Power 92. We are number one in the streets.
Power 92, we are number one in the streets. We got another one, your girl Money Maha. We got a lot of behind the scenes people, a lot of people in front of the camera from the new comedy Southside. Make some noise! I'm so excited you guys are here. You know, I'm born and raised from Chicago, so you know,
where you from?
I'm from 90, well, Pill Hill. I don't want to give
Okay, right on.
like 93rd, and I'll give you Stony.
You know, Chicago's always listening.
You know, and I was thinking, like, people don't really give the exact intersection. You kind of give,
I always give one that's 2 blocks over. Right. I'm from 72nd and Stony Island.
Yeah. Sometimes I say Jeffrey. Like, you know where I'm at.
Yeah,
Over east.
Jeffrey, was that the 6 bus?
Yes, it is. Jeffrey 6.
That Jeffrey 6, boy. There's some stories on that one.
Okay, so let's introduce ourselves. Bashir
Salahuddin, what's up, Chicago? How you doing?
Diallo Riddle.
Sultan Salahuddin, also Chicago. How are you?
Chandra Russell.
Okay, and now, not everyone here is from Chicago?
I'm the only one who is not. In fact, I'm probably the only person involved in the show in any, other than Michael Blyden, who is not from Chicago. Everybody else involved in the show grew up in Chicago.
That's right.
Born and raised, some still actively living on the South Side.
That's super cool. So everybody, from behind the scenes to in front of the camera?
Yeah, you know, it's really one of the things we're trying to do with the show is have the city to kind of show you its other colors and know that the things you see in the news that are tough, that are challenging, is a very, very small piece of a very large pie. So, you know, the South Side is a fun place. It's a riotous place. It's loving. It's some hard-ass jokes.
Yup.
We produce people like, you know, Bernie Mac, Robin Harris, Sherry Shepard. We got some luminaries. You know, a lot of the time we think of Chicago comedy, the North Side gets the focus, as it should. There's a lot of great stuff up there, but, you know, it's really time to bring it home right now. And so one of the ways we thought to do that was let's have the city speak for itself. So
that's
in front
dope.
of the camera and behind the camera, Chicago people.
That's really cool.
Accent, it's going to sound right.
And it's important to make sure that we have Chicagoans also in the writing room, because there's no better way to write a show based in Chicago unless it's by Chicagoans. You're not going to get all the nuances. So that was one of the things that we set out to do at the very beginning, because we knew that Chicagoans were going to be very critical.
Oh my gosh, yes.
We wanted to be authentic, and we wanted to be right.
Yeah. And it was good not to have to explain references. It's like if I said Flaming House with cheese.
Come on.
I didn't have to tell you what it was.
Come on.
Exactly.
I know that.
Yeah, there was a lot
Fiesta.
of things. So you guys know, I don't know if you guys know, but I watched the pilot. Okay, I didn't know if that was a secret. I was like, oh shit. I watched the pilot, and like a lot of times I say something a lot and it's you dig. And I heard it so many times. I was like, this Chicago. This some Chicago shit for real.
Yeah.
So how exciting is it to see an idea come to life? Like, how exciting is that for you guys?
It's wonderful, man. I think that, you know, it's almost like being an architect. At some point, you're looking at a bunch of blueprints, like, am I ever going to look at this thing pressed up against the sky? And then you just have to have faith and believe that an incredible amount of hard work.
Oof.
And then one day you look up and there it is. So it's really like, for me, it's a blessing. And it's still hard to believe. You know, I ought to pinch myself.
Oh my gosh.
It is. It really is.
I keep hearing you say, what is it? A newborn child. It's like a newborn child.
Yeah, that's for me. It's like having a brand new baby.
Yeah.
You sit, you wait, and then when it's born, you just like in love with it, and you just nurture it, and you take care of it all the way through. So that's for me. That's what it's been like.
It's so cool. What about for you two? What it's like seeing this idea come to life?
You know, I don't think it will feel real to me until, you know, next Wednesday at 9:30.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's happening, but it's like when I see it on TV, I think that'll be the moment for me where it's like, damn,
yo,
we did this.
that's
like,
us.
Because we've been I mean, I think it's been like 4 years.
Yeah.
That was going to be my next question. Like, how this is a season right now.
Mm-hmm.
How many episodes is it? 10. Okay, and it took 4 years.
Yes.
Yeah, man, it's a long process. The
Tell
development
me
process,
about it.
it's a grind. You know, they really there's a lot of different people who come into different networks with ideas for things they want to do. They have to whittle those down. Then they figure out who they're going to shoot a pilot for. They whittle those down. Then they figure out who they're going to actually make a season for. They whittle those down. And then even after you make your season, then you have to sort of figure out where you're going to air. So it's just like a lot of negotiation, a lot of discussion. We've been very blessed to be at Comedy Central, though, because they've been behind us 100%. We said, look, we want to do this with Chicago people. We're going to do this with people who aren't even really famous. These are just the funniest people you know. Like, if you think about who the funniest person you know is, like, for example, who's the funniest person you know?
You know, the funniest person I know, Jesus Christ. It's
He's pretty good.
people like, I like
Lord and
Mike
Savior.
Epps. I like, I love Lil Duval live.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I feel like there's a difference between live and...
Oh, there's always a difference. It's a
Yeah.
little more live. But like, what about your personal life?
Oh, Mike Jones.
There you go. So right. So Mike Jones is exactly.
hilarious.
Well, see, he's exactly the kind of person we're talking about. So on our show, he would be on the show.
Right.
Because we really wanted to
Come on,
be
Mike.
natural. Michael. I'm just using you as an example, brother.
Is it my time to shine?
Mike Jones. Don't be Mike Jones.
Now we got to put him on now.
You gotta put Mike Jones
Yeah,
on.
you got to.
That was happening.
And by the way, that's a little bit how our casting process worked, because as we were shooting, people would like come up to us and be like, "Hey, you know what this scene is really missing? It's me.
It's me."
And then we would try to find a way to get him. Because one thing that we really wanted to do, and I say this is the one person who wasn't raised in Chicago. I'm from Atlanta, but you know, growing up on the southwest side of Atlanta is not a different world away from growing up on the south side of Chicago. You know, like we all put up with a lot of the same things, and like we may use different lingo, but like we're all dealing with the same stuff. One of the things that we wanted to do with this show was make it so specific to Chicago that everybody can enjoy it, whether you're from Detroit, Atlanta, you know, South Central, like no matter where you're
North
from,
Philly,
you'll enjoy
Oakland.
it.
Yeah.
And to that point, we always wanted to make sure that the actors were from the local community,
Yeah.
so that you didn't watch it and think, oh, well, that person was on, you know, SNL and that person was on Netflix. Like, it's really the people of Chicago who populate the show in front of the camera and behind.
And when
Yeah,
you
I
watch,
I was literally looking when I was watching the pilot. I didn't recognize anybody, so that's why I was
Isn't
like,
that
"This
fun?
is." It
Because
was.
you don't even know how people are gonna like approach their comedy.
Yeah.
You don't like it's part of the surprise to be like, oh, I did not see that coming. You know what I mean? Like,
Are those guys twins?
Yes,
oh yeah, they really.
Okay.
They went to high school with him, Chicago High School for Agricultural Sciences.
Okay.
Fancy name for a school that.
Teaches you how to grow plants effectively.
Yeah.
It's a great school, great school.
Oh,
One of the things I
man.
wanted to make sure that we just talked about,
What's
let
up?
you guys know, is that in the writing room, one of the things that was really important to us was to make sure that this show was F-U-N-N-Y. It was funny. And I hope that I feel like it does come across when you watch it, as you saw the
Absolutely.
No.
The pilot made me like wonder what's gonna happen next, pretty much. Like, cause we know, like, I know straight out of college, it took me a little minute to find a gig, especially in entertainment.
Yeah.
Like, you guys know how consolidated this industry is.
Oh, it's
so.
totally easy. in entertainment.
Yeah,
Kids at
Shut
home
up.
listening, you're gonna make it.
man. You know what's funny?
So,
I went to Columbia downtown, and they definitely, like, all my professors were very open about it. They were like, so it's going to be hard for you to get a job. You know, arts is kind of different. Radio's kind of different. But, you know, it's a blessing to see where I'm at. Like, my family really, they were against it, too. But I'm like, look at me now. Look at me
you're
now.
outside the house yelling. I get it, man.
Look.
You have to absolutely, I think what you touched on is true. You got to really appreciate it, too. I think it takes so much work to get here. Like we said, 4 years. We had to shoot.
Congrats.
Thank you very
Yes.
much. You know, we had to shoot so many different things, but we never got discouraged because we always felt like we were like doing something that was blessed. It always felt like, you know, the city of Chicago, specifically what you see in the news about the South Side.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'll be honest and say, like, it's actually sometimes, and lately it's much better, but there's a couple years ago when I would see news stories that were worse than when I was growing up. And I'm like, we used to get into fights with like Steinmetz High School and
swear.
stuff like that, but like this is a whole other level. And I'm like, that's not the whole city. That's definitely some knuckleheads. That's some moments. Those are stupid moments. But the city is joyous. It's
And-
blessed and it's happy.
How irritating is it, like, when you guys are in a different state and you say you're from Chicago and people are like, whoa, what the fuck? Like,
You kill him.
I swear.
That's one of the things that we hope to change with the narrative with that, because I know my experiences in just traveling around the country. People be like, oh, like you said, you're from Chicago. Well, how did you survive? How did you make it? I was like, dude, I just woke up and went to school today. But
Simple.
I hope that the conversations now will be like, oh, you from Chicago? Man, y'all funny. Oh
Yeah,
my
that's
God.
the hope.
You guys
So that's the kind of
are
impact you guys want
That's
from
exactly what we
Southside?
want.
Yeah.
Why do you-
And there's actually a little more impact because I'll let him explain it, but we're actually trying to make sure because when we were shooting the show, children would come up to us and they would be like, "Hey, you know," 'cause a lot of them didn't know. They thought you'd have to be an actor, you know, to be involved in show
in
business.
filmmaking, yeah.
They'd be like, "What's that guy with those wires over there doing? And who's that person, you know, standing up on that ladder?" So do you want to say?
Yeah, definitely. One of the things when I was on set, a lot of times the youth would come up to me and they'd ask me so many questions. And
I'm
you can
sure.
see it in their eyes, and then you can feel it in their heart. And as a result of that, I just started a nonprofit which is called Lane44.org.
I love that.
And at Lane44, what we do is we're going to bring major motion pictures to the south side of Chicago for the youth. So the reason doing that is, one, stimulate the economy, two, expose them to the world of film so that they can have an opportunity to see and learn some of these things and see if this is a way for them to actually travel in life and change their experience. Also, so that they can better appreciate where they live, because you're gonna have to bring it to them. They're not gonna be able to be bussed out and go anywhere
That's
else.
facts.
And the other thing is like we're gonna be teaching them technical skills that they can use that could potentially bridge them to whatever career they want within film. So it's a lot that's involved in that, but that's basically I was moved from being able to make this show and being blessed to be part of it. I was like, we got to share this even more.
That's
So
really cool to me.
That's how it was created.
You know, now that I think about it, when I was 16, do you guys remember the movie Roll Bounce?
Yes.
Yeah.
Shot in Chicago, and they had to ask my father if they could use like the back of his business because he had a convenience store, and they had to ask him, and I just remember being there, and I did the same exact thing. I went up to them and I was like, how do I get involved? Like, what do I do? And I don't know if that was actually like the precursor before this happened for me, because like
the spark that it takes.
Yeah, because like sometimes I try to go back and I'm like, where did it start? Like I always knew I was like,
growing up in Atlanta, my very first job in this business was interning at LaFace Records, which happened accidentally because my father was doing some artwork for one of their album covers.
Okay.
But then like I got to work with Shanti Das and like I'd see Usher and I'd see Outkast and I'd be like, yo, maybe this is something. And obviously it's more TV film now, but like it was just that initial music spark that starts it all.
Because I feel like along the way you could end up learning to love something else too. I think when I first started radio, I loved production and I loved cutting commercials and putting shit together and making it something. And then somehow this happened. Now
you tapped on something really important. I mean, we always say personally there's a difference between intelligence and knowledge. Those are two different things. Intelligence is the capacity to know, and knowledge is specifically what you do know. And so what we find on the South Side is a lot of intelligence. It's not a lot of times people don't know what it means to be a key grip, to be a cinematographer, to be a music engineer. I mean, literally, everybody wants to make music, and yet so many people could be benefited if they learned how to actually use this big-ass board that's right here in front of you right here. So the question is, with our show, we want to show that too. We want to show that, the city of Chicago is a funny, funny place, and the people who live there, many of them would actually be doing a lot more if they had different opportunities. But in the meantime, we're going to show you how they make it work and make it grind.
I think that's really cool. Really cool. So I know it's mostly in Inglewood.
I think it's really the store is located in Inglewood.
Right.
We use Southside as almost like a vehicle to get all over the city of Chicago because I don't personally.
Does the West Side get any love?
West Side gets tons of love. Episode
Lil Rel, who's on the show.
Yes,
West Side.
Side. 290.
Yeah, there it is. I tell people all the time, like my mother's from the West Side. Hey, Ma.
Okay, hey, Mom.
So I have no interest, and we have no interest in elevating any part of the city of Chicago above any other part. But we're born and raised on the South Side. That's our starting point. But our characters go to the West Side, they go to the North Side, they go downtown. In some ways, Southside is less about the location and more about a point of view.
I like that. That's really cool. Could we talk about the writer's room? Before we get into that, what is it like working with your brother?
Oh, it's awesome.
Okay.
Good experience. I learned a lot, and he showed me some things that I didn't know that they were doing on the regular. So it's been a really, really good experience.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Me and my siblings do nothing that.
That's exactly the answer
together,
we rehearsed.
Hit all the marks. You messed it up.
Kid, you nailed it.
So, let's talk about the writer's room because I can only imagine, I do radio and music, so I have like no knowledge on like film and things like that. So does it go down in the writer's room? Like, are there disagreements? Like, how does it happen?
There's not really disagreements. There are times though when like somebody is not seeing your vision. And I think the cool thing about our room is that there was never just a no, like, I almost cursed, sorry. No, we're not doing that, but it was like a...
We can believe
it's okay, Maha's been cursing a lot.
There was never a no, we're not fucking.
Stream of profanity over
but there
Lots
was
of
like,
indecency.
it was like, make it funny, make it make sense. You know what I'm saying? If you can make this concept work, then we'll do it. But if you can't, then we're going to have to throw that away. Because the bar was just, things had to be really, really funny.
Right.
And really, really smart. And it felt good to come to work every day knowing that there was a high bar. And, like, this was the first job I ever had in my life where I was actually excited to go to work because I don't like working. And, I would just be so excited to go and be at home thinking about ideas. And I think because the whole room was from Chicago, it was our moment to write our love letter to our city. And so, like, everybody wanted to go off.
I love how you put that.
Put on.
Yeah, that's real dope.
Yeah.
Like, I just love that so much. When you guys had a lot of people coming up to you during filming, did any of those people end up getting casted?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We actually had this bus driver in this one episode where our characters are, like, having this, like, fight on a bus. It's supposed to feel like, something out of, like, The Fugitive, except it's over a microwave that needs to be returned to rent-to-own. And there was a bus driver there who we had hired to kind of drive the bus, but he had jokes. Because, you know, Chicago people got jokes. And we were like, all right, put the camera on this guy. And he's actually in episode 3.
That's so cool.
He's good. He got it going.
But, you know, there are other people who we auditioned for, like, one line in one episode.
Juwan.
But they made us laugh so much that we brought them back for 3 or 4 episodes. Because, you know, like, it's all about discovering that, you know, untapped talent in the city.
I
in
love
some ways,
that.
we want to try to turn the city of Chicago, and specifically the South Side, to like Springfield with The Simpsons. So, like, this how The Simpsons has, like, Chief Wiggum and, you know, Bart and Homer, and sometimes we got Moe and all these different people who can bring an episode, bring in comedy. Our show's the same way. We have 150 speaking parts, 150 local Chicago actors who showed up and showed out and going to make y'all laugh. It's really incredible. It's sort of like if you build it, they will come. And we got really blessed because everywhere we went, Diallo was in an Uber one, a Lyft part.
Yeah, I was in a Lyft. I was in a ride share.
Uber. I know Lyft ain't paying y'all no money.
But you know, but you know, dude was like, you know, like you get in the car and you know, sometimes the drivers want to talk to you, and he was like, "Hey man, I heard y'all shoot a comedy about the South Side," and I was like, it seemed vaguely hostile. Like I was like, I don't know if I should, you know.
You got the right man.
I don't know
wrong man.
Ooh, wrong car, sir. And I said, yeah, we're shooting a comedy about the South Side, and he was like, thank you.
Yeah.
He was like,
That's
I'm so
so
happy
dope.
that somebody is showing the other side of what life is, because people love the South Side, people love Chicago, and if it was actually the way it's portrayed by certain politicians, nobody would ever want to live there. And that's so you know that they're lying, and we're telling the truth.
Yeah, because our show's written by people who actually live there.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's really important. I think that's really important for Chicago to see that. Yeah.
Let's have some fun. Let's enjoy ourselves.
And then I just want to also throw in, like, it's really important. We thought about this even in the writing room, that when people have a hard day of work, they don't want to come. We want them to come home and be able to laugh, let their guard down, be able to have a good time. So that's also the intention, and is woven into the fibers of the show.
Bashir and I used to write at a late night with Jimmy Fallon back before he took over the Tonight Show.
Jimmy Fallon was something.
Yeah. You know, one of our goals has always been to have that show that's just really, really funny. A lot of jokes being thrown at you all the time. I think there are a lot of shows right now that, you know, will call themselves comedies, and they're good shows, but you aren't always, like, laughing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like this is that
kind
one
of smirking
show.
along the way.
Hey. Sometimes you're crying. You're like, yo, this is a very, very serious episode.
Very poignant episode of the show.
No, some of them are.
And I think, and by the way, we like those shows. It was just it's our own personal decision to make a show where it's like you can sit down, you can actually watch with most members of your family and all be laughing at it.
When before you guys walked in, I was telling Mike Jones how, like, you know, Chicago doesn't really have a show like this, minus the only one we could really think of right now is Shameless.
Yeah.
So how is this different than Shameless, I guess?
Well, Shameless is about white people.
It is, if you guys watch it.
Except for that one really talented actor. I'm blanking on her name. And Southside is really about the city that we grew up in, which is, I call it Black Chicago, but, you know, again, it's about the people and the places and the things and the vibe and the language, and it's about Italian Fiesta, and it's about Harold's Chicken, it's about Giordano's, and it's about, you know, Doc's. I don't know if
and I just want to point out, we do have one white actor.
Well, we have one white actor. We have one regular.
So we have diversity, y'all. We have diversity. We have one white actor.
I think the biggest difference also is that, you know, for those of you a little in the weeds on this stuff, Shameless is what you call a serialized show, which means that every episode sets up every other episode. Southside is episodic, which is more like The Simpsons or Family Guy, which means every episode is its own thing.
If you missed an episode, you can still check back in and not be like, wait, what happened to that man? Why is he bleeding?
Exactly.
You know, like
we want everybody to start on episode 1, but if you come in on episode 5, you won't miss anything.
That's kind of dope.
If you watch the whole thing, we absolutely give you a little bit more nuggets, a little more Easter eggs, a little more comprehension.
Yeah, you'll appreciate it even more. So we do want to encourage you to watch every episode.
Yes,
please.
Just saying, please start with episode 1. In fact, you guys start with episode 1 next Wednesday, 9:30 p.m.
I think the biggest difference between us and Shameless, and I love Shameless, you know, I love Fiona forever, but it's from the crib.
We from the crib, right?
You gotta mess with us.
I really think that is so dope. It's so unique. I love that you guys did that. The actors, most of the behind the scenes people, like, I really, really, really like that. I think that's really cool.
It's gonna have a sound. It's gonna sound like the city of Chicago.
Yeah, when I was watching the pilot, it was really cool to hear 76 and Damon. It was really cool to see the things and hear Kennedy King. Like, it's just That was
We
cool.
got Sasha Go Hard doing the intro.
Yeah, Sasha Go
I
Hard
was
on the
just
intro.
about to ask y'all who was
I
that.
met her last night.
Big ups to my girl Sasha Go Hard. That's my G. I love
It
Sasha.
goes hard. The song goes hard.
I need to hear the full version then, because I just
Should
heard
send it
the.
to you. We should
yeah.
have y'all play it.
I'm gonna hit. I could just hit Sasha. I really
It will be available.
cool.
Download and streaming.
I think something that's really interesting is that some of y'all play dual roles, that you guys are in front and behind.
Yeah.
So what
yeah.
is
Everybody in this room is in front of the camera.
in front? Okay.
Everybody in this room is in the writer room, and y'all and I are two or three exec producers.
Interesting. Can we talk about the transition? Like what it's
You know,
how different they are?
When we got into this business, and I'm sure you people can relate, it's like it's almost like what Spike Lee, and shout out to Spike Lee was doing when he first started making movies. He didn't know how to do anything, so he had to learn how to do everything. And that's what happened with us. Before we got hired at Jimmy Fallon, we were already writing, producing, directing, and acting in our own shorts. I mean, that's how he actually discovered us. Was one of our early videos went viral, this thing called Kanye Writes Raps, when YouTube first came out. So right now, it's like we use the Jimmy Fallon show as almost like a master's degree, and then Southside is like our PhD. This is like our now we're going to put all these different writing and acting and things skills to the test.
I'll even take it a step further. When we first started out, we would write things for actors, and then we would have auditions, and then at some point we'd be like, why don't you just do the thing, man? You know exactly what we want. And we've all done some work now. Like this man has been on Glow. He's in the Top Gun reboot that's coming out.
Shout out Tom
Congrats.
Cruise. Shout out Tom.
I got some real important people in this room. I love this.
Yeah, Mike Jones right there.
By the way, I don't even want to address that.
I mean, obviously, we talk about
It happens every
important people.
Every interview.
But I played Marlon Wayans' friend on a show, Marlon, on NBC.
Okay.
Currently trending on Netflix.
Yeah.
You can
Congrats.
catch both seasons on Netflix. Shout out to Brescia Webb and Essence Atkins,
Yeah.
amazing people. I think our whole goal has always just been to put out the best product that we can put out. So if we write something for ourselves, that's one thing. If we write something for ourselves, but somebody else can do it better than us, we pass it off.
Now, is
we
that
really just wanted to do the best thing. The last thing I'll say about it is that it does require different skills at the moment. Like when you're writing, you're thinking about how does this thread interact with that thread. You're thinking about the plot. You're thinking about the motivation. You're thinking about many things.
True.
When you're acting, your best acting usually comes when you're in the moment, and you're not thinking about any of that other stuff. And then, so you do have to take off a hat and put on another hat, and it does help to have so many inspired writers on set in that village looking at you perform, so that you don't have to worry about your producer stuff or your writer stuff. You can just you can just focus on the acting.
I think
Yeah,
collaboration.
I always
Go ahead,
I
Sean.
always feel like the writing part is that's the brain nod work, that's the head work, and then the acting part that's heart and instinct right there. You just have to live as truthfully as you can under these imaginary circumstances. So I feel like they're two different muscles.
For me, when I'm writing, my mind is there in writing, but when acting, I took it one step at a time. I didn't think about the scene that was coming after that or the one that I just left. I was just in that scene, and I think that was the easiest way for me to make that transition from writing. Even though I knew what was coming next, I didn't think about it. I just stayed
They
focused.
did an amazing job.
That's why quality collaboration is so important. You got to have people around you who you trust, who can pull your, tug in your coattails and say, "Hey, it's not working."
Right.
You got to be able to be smart enough to be humble and go, "Thank you, you're right. Let me get this right." Because you guys, I trust you guys. You guys are all watching it, and are you sure this is not funny? And then Dial be like, "Nah, son, ain't nobody laughing." So
we laughing at how unfunny it is.
It's ironic funny, and you'd be like, "Oh man," but I believe in
laughing at you.
Is there one you guys like over the other?
Episode-wise?
No, like
right over
versus.
man.
I wake up every day wanting to do something different. So some days I wake up like, oh, thank God I'm just acting today, and I don't have to struggle with that B plot that doesn't make no sense. And then other times you're just like, oh, I really want to create something.
Yeah.
So I think for me it's day to day.
I'll just say really quickly, I think it really is day to day for me too, depending on where my head is at. But one thing I like about Southside, like about this show, is that there's not somebody over us telling us what's right and what's wrong about what we're doing, and that makes it special.
They didn't bring in some, magical white man to oversee the whole project.
Guys, I mean, come on. What is Garrett's popcorn?
It didn't even exist.
Does anybody eat this stuff?
Sir.
They didn't bring in Gandalf to be like.
That's so cool. I'm really
You got to trust people. You got to have a good team around you.
That's right.
Yeah, talk about the crew. Like, how important is it for everybody to be focused, everybody to come ready to work and perform? Like,
Well, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's critical. One of the things that Michael Blythe did, and I noticed, what he did was he set a tone.
Our director.
Our director. He set a tone, and he said to make sure that when you come to work, you come with a positive attitude and the energy behind
Absolutely.
it. And I heard that, and he wasn't even talking to me, but I took from that, and I made that part of my performance as well, because at the end of the day, I just wanted to make sure that this was the best it could be, and I gave my best effort, no matter what. Leave it all on the table, but I wanted to be able to give my best, because everybody else is giving their best.
It's hot. Nobody would deal with nobody with a funky attitude.
Yes,
I
right.
swear.
Let me say this, and this is something that I was loath to bring up because, we really want to highlight the positive. But this is something that I want to bring up because I'm so proud of the way our crew behaved
Yes, they did.
when this happened. We were shooting on the South Side, and as you know, it's a wonderful place full of wonderful people. There are some knuckleheads there.
Absolutely.
And so we were shooting, and for me, I'm up all night, praying, like, oh, please, I hope everybody's cool. I hope we have a good shoot. I hope that we're able to show people what we're made of and that we're made of something stronger and different and better. And while we were shooting one of the episodes, there was a gunfire a couple blocks away, and I was so proud how the crew responded. They just got really cool. They all went, we went in the house for I think 20 minutes or something. The cops gave us all clear. There have been other shoots in this city, by the way, where crew people have left and been like, I'm not shooting anymore. I'm done with this. I'm going back. I'm not doing this. But our crew, nobody left. Yeah. Everybody went right back to work. Yeah. And my heart was full at that point because I said, I think they understand what I understand, that it's really important for us to get this and to do this and to do this right.
Yeah.
And it's going to require some sacrifice. And so that was a moment where I was like, all right, dope. We got the right people around us. They understand the stakes.
We didn't tell that story anywhere else. So.
I didn't want to tell the network that story because I
92.
I didn't want them to know, but then they found out anyway.
But we're so Chicago, and I was already going to ask you guys, was there any challenges that you faced filming in the South Side?
The biggest challenge, and it's funny, is people coming up being like, hey, man, this scene is good, but you know what it need? It need me, brother.
Every time.
That was the number one thing. It wasn't anybody messing with us. It was just the people who loved us and loved what we were doing being like, I mean, it ain't quite there, my man. The storyline needs somebody.
The challenge was the Harold's girl. The girl we were all having chicken.
Tell me about
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and this girl, and why she had that blowhorn, I don't even know. And she was just walking down the street, and she refused to go until we gave her some chicken. And it was like, Ma, if you want chicken, just ask for chicken. You don't have to do all this extra with the rah-rah walking back and forth. And I think she also she wanted to be on camera.
She wanted to be seen. Come on now.
She wanted to have a little moment.
She wanted to point the cameras at her.
So we gave her a nice little moment.
Here, you take it.
She carried on about her day.
Well, you guys are so blessed to have a really, for real, she bought her chicken. Which one did you guys go to?
87th and Vincent's.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the one.
Somebody
I mean, that's the one I like.
I've been there before.
You know that there's
Delicious.
some,
I like
Choice
87th
chicken,
and the Dan Ryan is mine.
87
Dan Ryan is
inspired.
mine.
There has been some that I found in the burbs that are good too. Like there's
Really?
one, yes, there's one in Calumet City.
Damn, I'm
I
offended.
just can't believe it.
such a
The
thing.
one on Calumet City in Sibley is good.
Well, I'm going to disrespect the Harold's people right now because I'm feeling like
You're gonna-
throwing some bombs.
You're going to mention
Oh,
the
no.
one in,
I'm
in that one
shots
neighborhood?
fired. We were in LA in the writer room, and Harold's has finally put a food truck in Los
Yes,
Angeles.
I peeped.
And Chandra, I don't know if you want to walk us through
Oh,
this
please.
What's the
disaster.
mild sauce like?
Well,
I'd like to tell you. However, we were trying to order this chicken for hours.
Yeah.
Okay, and I was so adamant about getting this chicken. I was craving it. We were talking about mild sauce.
That's that
every
Chicago,
day,
isn't
right
it?
now. And I wanted it so bad. And so, reached out via Instagram, got the number, we're calling them. And the girl, she was just regular, Harold's attitude. She was like,
Harold's attitude.
It's going to be a while. And I'm like, well, it says you guys open at 11. She was like, well, we ain't ready. So.
Oh.
and no
And then we sent our assistant down at the location. They were supposed to be
Made
at.
him
He was
wait
waiting
around.
For like 3 hours.
Damn, did you guys get it?
No.
Bro, I never had to. And then I went another day. See, Harold, y'all need to send me some chicken right now. Because I went another day from my house on a weekend.
I didn't even know
and
that.
I waited in line 30 minutes. And then they had ran out of chicken. And they were like, well, just come back in like an hour. I was
That's bogus.
That's so in like an hour.
You gotta grow some more chicken
So,
out of
I'm
my
such
truck.
an addict. I know, but I'm such an addict.
She's like,
I
this
would've
chicken's
went
still
back.
clucking.
If I didn't have to do something.
They still fucking
She said, this chicken's
Harold.
still clucking. It's going to be a minute.
That would never happen in Chicago. Is what I'm saying. I mean, you might wait a little bit.
Guys, you gotta up
But
the
you gonna
service.
get your ticket.
You gonna wait though. You definitely gonna wait. But then when you get it, you're like, it's so good.
And that's what I'm
All the abuse was worth it.
I can't stay mad at you.
We friends. We cool.
Oh,
Had to
yeah.
get mild sauce.
We have you in mouth.
What are some of your favorite spots in Chicago to eat? Since
Oh,
most of us.
wow, that's. I'm gonna tell you what, because I like to start first because it really makes no sense why we even. Does anybody want to go? I have a couple ideas.
I have like a list.
Portobello's, Giordano's.
Portillo's.
Portillo's. You guys are all highfalutin.
Do you like Illuminati's better than Giordano's or Giordano's?
I had Illuminati the other day.
And even more
I
so
like
than
Italian
Giordano's.
Hey.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I like Italian Fiesta,
Yeah, I like-
but somebody
I like-
in this room be shitting on Italian Fiesta.
Overrated.
Well, you know what?
Overrated.
The respect,
Wait.
the respect I had for Mike Jones is going down a little bit because the Italian Fiesta on 81st and Halsted is my number one choice.
It's the
That's
best.
My number one answer. By the way, have you guys ever noticed that Illuminati sounds like the Illuminati?
Of course.
Yes,
of course.
it
I
does.
can't
Why
get
that on
was I
purpose?
watching that interview with
No, his
you
name
and
is
that lady?
Illuminati.
And she was like, what's this called? Illuminati's? And he was like,
You say that to somebody else who doesn't live
I
here.
have no idea what you're talking about.
What's your favorite place to eat? Illuminati's? Oh, I see
she
how
wasn't
you
from
are.
Chicago, though, was she? Yeah.
Is that on purpose?
Man.
We broke the story here, guys.
Look.
Power of Attitude 3, breaking the stories, breaking the controversies. Illuminati.
You know what? I got that Cheval burger one morning.
The Cheval burger.
First thing, yeah, and that was fantastic. That actually.
Wait, what's
was
yours?
delicious.
Okay, let's see. What do I love the most? Like, I might have to just say Giordano's. I'm big on Giordano's.
Yeah.
And I like a lot of the things besides the pizza there, too.
Yeah.
Like, I like their Caesar salad.
Well, as somebody who
their
went to
Parmesan fries.
somebody who went to Whitney Young High School, a very good high school, y'all.
Yes, it is.
Giordano's is like right down the street in Greektown, so we
It
could
is.
go there like all the time. We actually shot at that Giordano's
That's right.
in episode 2. At the end of episode 2, you will see this guy walking into the Giordano's in Greektown.
That's so dope. I can't
Shout
wait
out
to
to
see the rest of the
Pegasus.
season.
We can't wait for you to watch it. You're going to have a lot of laughs.
So next Wednesday?
Wednesday night, 9:30,
Woo!
guys. Tell everybody, let's get a really big opening number. Wednesday night, 9:30.
Let's be clear. This
Central.
Wednesday.
This Wednesday.
This Wednesday.
Coming up.
Coming up. Yeah.
Coming up. Don't miss. Is there anything else you guys want to add before we wrap up? Any last things about how you want Chicago to feel after seeing it?
Yeah, absolutely. We really want, and I think it's Sultan, you already said this, but I'm hoping that as we expand people's understanding and educate them about who we really are,
Yeah.
telling our own stories from our own selves, that America and Chicagoans would now start to identify, particularly the South Side. It's like, oh, isn't that funny ass place
Yeah.
versus whatever else people might think. And so, you know, when people meet you and they go, oh, you're from there, man, I love that
Yes.
place.
Change
I love what
the
I see.
narrative.
Let's change that narrative.
I'm so excited, guys. Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
birthing Southside.
Yeah.
And, you know, after seeing the first episode, I'm excited to see the rest of it. So
Very
Thank you
much.
so much.
Very much.
make some noise for Southside! Thank you guys for joining me. And maybe, like, after the season's over, maybe we could do another one.
Yeah.
Kind of wrap up.
Anytime.
I'm with it.
Because then you'll have really specific questions
Yes.
about.
And now you guys are
Hey, is
officially
that
family.
character
because
alive?
You're here. So you guys are locked in.
I love it. I
Okay.
can't wait to get my credentials.
All
so I can
right.
get it.
Let's do it.
Our 92.3 FM.